Are you losing at 40k? In this video we're going to talk about taking and most importantly holding primary objectives. I'll start with a brief overview of primary objectives, what objective secured is and what it means for you. Then I'll run through two main scenarios, getting to the objective first and what to do if you get there second. If you hang around until the end of the video, I'll give you a bit of insight into the game's balance and resource. As always, if you enjoy the video, please remember to like and subscribe. We've all seen them, those 40mm counters set up on the battlefield before deployment. They are the primary objectives, the fighting points that keep us coming back for more. To control an objective, you need to get more of your models within 3 inch horizontally and 5 inch vertically of the marker than your opponent. Should you manage this, you get to score victory points. Generally 5 points for 1 or more objectives, another 5 for 2 or more objectives, and another 5 for controlling more than your opponent. Scoring starts at turn 2 and there's a maximum of 15 points a turn up for grabs to an upper limit of 45 points over the course of the battle. But remember, points are scored at the end of your command phase, the start of your turn. If you take an objective in your turn, your opponent has their turn to get it back or blast you off the objective. A quick note on objective secured. Some units in 40k have this special ability. It allows you or your opponent to control an objective whilst being outnumbered, having less models within 3 inches than your opponent. If both you and your opponents have units with this ability in range of the objective, the army with the most models within range controls the objective. It's crucial that you understand what units in your and your opponent's army have objective secured. Ask before the game if you are not sure. Generally, most units in a battle-forged army with the troops keyword have this ability. Fast units with large spheres of influence get there first. Check out my previous video for more on spheres of influence. In summary, large movement range equals large sphere of influence. Large shooting range, you guessed it, equals a large sphere of influence. Take units with a large sphere of influence and get to the objectives before your opponent. Know yours and your opponent's units that can deep strike, infiltrate or use other faction abilities that allow them to be removed from the battle and then redeploy. These abilities can speed you onto undefended objectives. Always consider objective secure. Fast attack units, with some exception, do not have this ability. Positioning is crucial. Try to prevent your opponent from getting any models within range of the objective by positioning your models between them and the objective, trailing a model or two within range of the objective to claim the points. And remember, getting the first turn helps you get there first. You can also be first to new content from the channel by subscribing. So you're a slowpoke who got there second. Stop worrying and remember to check and recheck which units, both yours and your opponent's, have objective secure. To take an objective that is held by the enemy units with this ability, you need your own unit with this ability within range of the objective, or you need to decisively attack them and destroy them. Generally speaking, to win a contested objective, you need to have more points committed to that objective than your opponent. These points have got to come from somewhere. Check the number of points you've got committed to all the objectives. Now, how many points does your opponent have committed? Spheres of influence really comes in handy here. Look at the battlefield and think how many spheres of influence cover each objective and the associated points value. For you to win an objective, you need more than your opponent. Now you need to consider the payoff of winning that objective. Are you better off working on secondaries or trying to deny your opponent points elsewhere on the battle map? Only you can decide. Warhammer 40k is a game of war. Therefore it's a game of balance and resource. Be aware of yours and your opponent's spheres of influence. Keep track of how these spheres interact with the objective markers. Then consider how many points each sphere represents. You need more points in your spheres than your opponent's to stand a high chance of successfully contesting an area. You can increase your overall influence in an area by committing more units or reducing your opponent's spheres of influence. This can be done by either destroying or outpositioning. There is nothing more satisfying than tying up some high point heavy infantry with 100 points of infiltrators for a turn or two. Think about trades like these. Anything that reduces your opponent's high value unit's sphere of influence for less points than they're worth is a tactical win. Orchestrate enough of these and you will win the game. Finally, start every game with an overall strategy. Assign combinations of units to earn victory points. Have a very clear picture of how many points are committed to each one. That way you know how many points your opponents will have to commit to defeat you, and you can adjust your strategy accordingly as the game progresses. Thanks for watching, and thanks even more for making it to the end of the video. Please remember to like and subscribe and leave a comment if you agree or disagree with anything in the video, or just to let me know how I'm doing. Next up in this series, I'll be taking a closer look at the tactical exchanges we touched on in this video with a Know Your Units video. And remember, in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only law.